Hi, my name is Jessica Bellacci, and this is my presentation for Module 6 of EDL 680. In this presentation, I will be reflecting on the concepts learned in this class and how I would apply them in implementing a blended learning program. Section 1.1 covered laying the foundation of a blended learning or online learning program. The people involved in laying the foundation should be all stakeholders, which includes teachers, school board members, administrators, students and parents, as well as community partners. During this phase, there are actions to be taken that are critical for the rest of the plan to function. Number 1, communicate with stakeholders about the implementation and seek feedback and participation from a variety of people. Number 2, build a shared vision. A collaborative effort will ensure that many voices are heard and one vision is agreed upon. If everyone is working toward a different goal, it builds confusion and wastes resources. When a vision is shared by all, the implementation will be much more efficient. Number 3, address the 4 key focus areas discussed in the Keeping the Pace with K-12 online learning guide. The 4 key focus areas are content, teaching, technology, and operations. In my plan, 4 work groups, made up of a variety of stakeholders, will be formed to focus on each of these respective focus areas. They will answer questions and develop a plan for each one. To keep with the blended nature of the program, in my plan, stakeholder groups will communicate and record their work using shared tools such as Google Docs, and updates can be distributed to all stakeholders via e-blast, blogs, and post to school media accounts. The strengths I bring to this concept of laying the foundation is that I tend to be strategic and planning oriented in my personality and leadership style. I love calendars and lists and can use that strength to contribute to a solid foundation for implementation. The most pressing need associated with this concept is the need to have a shared vision, which requires collaboration and consensus among many personalities and roles. The support of stakeholder leaders is key, as they can help organize and communicate their group's collective voice. Section 1.2 covered the different models for online and blended learning. The action for this part of my plan is to inform all stakeholders of the options for blended and online learning models. The staff will be trained extensively, but there will also be a webinar that all stakeholders can access online. No choice needs to be made, but stakeholders should be informed in order to make informed decisions throughout the implementation process. The original webinar and training will be produced by professionals in the tech department and/or learning and leadership department. After the implementation begins, the responsibilities of refreshing the webinar annually will transfer to the students. My strengths in this concept come directly from this class, in the knowledge of how to make a presentation accessible and what information to include about blended models. The challenge for the actions in this section is imparting that knowledge in a way that all stakeholders understand the basics and their roles in the process. Section 2.1 discussed the operations component of a blended learning program. Operations affects nearly every area of the implementation process, and so it is one of the most complex focus areas. The first action is to define a target group of students in order to recruit students to your program. After that, define their needs and create a list of the support you need to provide. Make sure those positions are staffed or start the recruitment process to staff them. As for financing, in my action plan, I would organize a budget committee from school or district staff to calculate and forecast a budget for implementation. I would also organize a funding committee to search for creative funding solutions. As a blended vision emerges, facilities should also be part of the discussion at meetings of the stakeholders. The challenge is that there are so many parts to operations. The challenge is also that operations is intertwined with nearly every other area of focus, and so communication is key. My strength could be, again, in organizing and facilitating this communication. I will listen to people's needs and get feedback often in order to provide support. Section 2.2 covered technology, which is basically everything that goes on behind the scenes to make the blended learning environment possible and accessible. Actions taken in this phase are considering architecture and security of your program and the student information within it. This is also the phase to consider learning management system options and decide on a universal LMS to maintain consistency. Now is the time to have the conversation about building versus buying an LMS platform. As for devices, rollout will be staggered as teachers complete their training. The tech and IT department will be heavily involved in this aspect of the plan, with support and input from the technology and teaching stakeholder groups.
Created using Powtoon.